the brain control all the activity of the human body. Not only this nervous system, but the other systems also control. Okay. So similarly, the nervous system also gets connected with the brains with the help of the various tissues. Okay, so there is a framework in our body, in each and every organ, and that organ controlled by a particular system that is called as the nervous system. So controlling and coordinations done with the help of the brain and also involve the nervous system. So actually what is meant by the control and coordinations? Okay. So control means what? In each and every organ in human body, it's properly performing the function, no doubt. But how it performs the function only on the control, under the control of the brains. Okay. So brain can send the messages. The brain can control each and every activity, each and every functions of the every organs. Okay. So there is a network forms in our body, and that's why it is possible to perform the function by various organs. And what is meant by the coordination? So this will be the controls, no doubt. So what is meant by the coordinations? Coordination means according to the command of the brains. So working in the all organs from human body. According to the command from the brain, all the organs are working. But there is a difficulty to work a proper function by the organ. So that time the coordination will be failed. Means a particular function will be failed. That is failing the coordination. It means failing the particular function. Okay. So if there is a proper function, we can say the proper or 100% coordination will be done, and according to that function, our body will be works in the various systems. Okay, so that will be called as control and coordinations. In this, our nervous system particularly involved in the control and coordination nervous systems. So nervous system is called as the neural system also. Neuron means there is a name given depending on a particular cell. So that cell performs the function of to transport the stimuli to the various organs. So that is the neuron cells. Okay, neuron. That's why it is called as the neural systems. Okay. So this system composed with the brains. So we can see here in the diagram, there is a brains. Direct to the brain, there are the connecting the spinal cords. Okay, so this is the spinal cord. We call it the backbone. Okay, backbone of the human body. So on that, there is a covering of the various nerve cells. Okay, so we can see the covering of the nerve cells, and that nerve cells spread throughout the human body. Okay, so that is the nerves spreading throughout the human, each and every organ. That will be the spreads. So it is nothing but it is a system that controls the coordinations of the body and all the activities. Okay, system, it can be coordinates all the functions of the body activities conducted means perform, and integrates the information and respond to stimuli. And it will be a great integration, means one organ gives response to the another organs, then there will be a chain of the responding and up to the brains. Okay, so there is a particular function done towards the brain and from the brain. So there is a continuous transport of the stimuli. So this stimuli word, it means in Marathi we call it as the chetana. Okay, janiv. Okay, so that will be called as the stimuli, chetana or janiv. So when we are suffering from the hot atmosphere, then there is a hotness will be recognized by our body. So because of that, the stimuli. So that stimuli transport toward the brains, and we recognize a particular surrounding atmospheres. Okay, so that is the stimuli. It will transport toward the brains. So if there is a stimuli cannot be transported toward the brain, so we cannot be recognized. There is a hotness, there is a coldness. Okay, so what may be the mechanical injury? That mechanical injury particularly done in the particular organ. That organ is having the nerve cells. So that nerve cells transport the stimuli towards our brain. So that's why we recognize we have some mechanical injury. Okay, so that is the function, important function performed by the brain with the help of this the stimuli. So stimulus mechanism will be performed in our body. Okay, so this mechanism includes how many organs? So number one is the main organ, that is called as the controlling organ, called as the brain. Then spinal cord, this will be the spinal cords. Okay, and the nerve cells. Nerve cells also, nerve fibers also. Nerve cells get combined together to form a long threads. So that is called as the nerve fibers. It is also made up of specialized cells known as the neurons. So neurons are specialized cells. There is a particular framework become made. There is the cell is known as the neurons. Okay, so neuron cells participates in the controlling and coordination. Not only these, also transport these stimuli. Okay, then neuron cells. What is meant by the neuron cells? A very important cells. Neuron. We can see here the red colors. The cells connecting to the a very framework, a great network. Okay, so we can call it as the network of the neurons. So this is nothing but it's a structural and functional unit of the nervous cell. Okay, neuron is nothing but it's a structural and functional unit of the nervous system. So this can be divided into three main parts. Number one, body cell, then dendrons and exons. Okay, so our body cells are also connected, then dendrons are also connected, and exons are also connected. So we can say these are the parts of the neuron. So neuron cell can perform the important function with the help of these three components: body cell, dendrons, and exon. For body cell also called as the cyton. It means the cyton, biological word, cyton, dendrons, and the exon. Okay, then how the nerve cells look like? Okay, so nerve cells, it is again divided into three parts. Of course, cell body, that is the cyton, dendrons, okay, and neuron. So first of all, we see the cell body, that is the cyton. So cyton contains, okay, cyton contains cytoplasm, cell organelles, and nacelles granules. So that is called as the granular bodies. Okay, so this will be the component of the cyton cell. So this is the total structure of the neuron cells. Okay, this is the total structure of the neuron cells, having the mycelial sheath also. There is a presence of the exon also. There is a presence of the C1 cells also. And main cell, in the main cell, centrally, there is a location of the nucleus. And here, this is the cell body. Okay, and this is the nacelles, granules also, and these are the dendrites. It is nothing but it's a branches directly connected to the cell. Okay, so this is the all the structural, that is the structural morphology of the cyton. Okay, it will be the having the particular cell. Number second, dendrons. Dendrons are nothing but it is a short fibers that project out of the cell body. So this is the cell body, and from the cell body there is a projections, means outgrowth. Okay, projections mean nothing but it's outgrowth from the cell outermost wall, and it will be formed in the form of the branches. So why the branches are formed? Because these branches are directly connected to the various organs and also connecting the small nerves also. So that small nerves connected to the branches, main branches of the cell, and that's why these nerve cells performing the function to controlling the organ. So there are the branches called as the dendrites or dendrons. Okay, so this one. Sub branches of dendrons are called as the dendrils. Okay, so this will the dendrils, dendrons and dendrils. So directly connected to the sheath cell, this is called as the dendrons. And when we call as the dendrils or dendrites, there is the sub branch. This is the branch, sub branch. Okay, understand? Branch and sub branch. Then they transmit impulses towards cell body. So impulse coming from the nerve cells. Okay, here the impulse should be comes from here, and it will be get transported. Impulse should be transported through these dendrites, okay, and towards the body cells. So here connecting the number of the body cells. So that body cell accept the impulse and transport towards the other organ, then other organs, and finally towards the brains. Okay, it will be recognized. Then the structure of the neuron, that is the nerve cell. Number third, C, exon. So exons is nothing but it's a long fiber which transmit the impulses away from the cell body. Okay, so we can see here, this is the long structures of the exon, and these are the terminals. This is the exons and the terminals of the exons, secondary, okay, terminals of exon. The branching of the exon is called as the exonite. Okay, we call as the exonites. These are the branching. This one branching. This is the one branch, called as the exonite. So there are the number of exonites, and on the exonites there are the exon terminals. Okay. Each exonite ends at a sub, that is the structurally, that means this is the primary structure and this is the secondary structure, primary, secondary. It ends as a bulb-like structure called as the synaptic nerve. So lastly, at the end of the exon terminal, there is a rounded structure, there is a bulb-like structure. So that structure is called as the synaptic nerve. Nerve means it's a somewhat rounded structures. Okay, solar part, rounded structures, end. That is called as the synaptic nerve. Okay, this will be the location of the exon here. Okay, and dendrons at the cell, that is the cytoplasm, outermost layer. Okay. Next is the number 3. Then types of the neurons. Okay, types of neurons. What are the types of the neurons? So according to their number of the neuron groups together, okay, so they show the different structures. So according to that structure, they are classified into 3 types. Number 1, multipolar neurons. Number 2, bipolar neurons. And number 3, unipolar neurons. So uni means single, multi means many, bi means 2. Okay, so that will be depends on the number of the neurons groups together. Okay, so the multipolar neuron means 1 exons and 2 or more dendrons. Okay, so axon, number of the axon is only single. Okay, and 2 or more dendrons are there, and it is found in the cerebral cortex of the brains. Okay, so that will be that. Then bipolar neurons, 1 axon and 1 dendrons. Okay, so that will be called as the bi, means 2. 1 axon and 1 dendrons composed together to become the bipolar neurons. Okay. Then it is found in the retina of the eye. So bipolar neurons commonly found in the retina of the eye, and it will be perform the function of the stimuli. So in that stimuli, what happen actually, there is a vision, whatever maybe we see surrounding. So that vision transport quickly, immediately towards the brain, and we recognize the various things with the help of our eyes. Okay. So that will be the bipolar neuron. It is the cell body, then the axon. Here there is a receptor cells also. Then cell body, then axon is. Then here are the number of the groups. Okay, number of the cell bodies, and that cell body connecting the axon structures. Okay. Then unipolar. Uni means single, 1 axons only, and it is found in the embryonic stage. So when there is a embryonic stage, embryo will be developed, and in that embryo there is a development of this location of the same polar neuron, that is called as the unipolar, single. Okay, so this is the broad classification of the types of neuron. Remember this, types of neuron means a multipolar, it's many, bipolar, 2 neurons, and unipolar, single. Okay, so that is the types of neurons. Then types of exons. So what are the types of exons? So exons are again classified into two types, that is the mycelinated exon and non-mycelinated exon. So what is meant by the mycelium? So mycelium and mycelinated. When there is a mycelium, we call as the mycelinated exon. When there is an absence of the mycelium, called as the non-mycelinated exon. Okay, so depending on the presence of the mycelium. So what is the mycelium? Is the network-like structures. Small network-like structure. Branches, then sub-branches, then again sub-branches. Okay, so there is a formation of the network here we can see. Okay, so formation of the network, that is called as the mycelium. So types of exons are the two, mycelinated and non-mycelinated. In that, the mycelinated exons, structurally we can see here the mycelinated exons. So there are the exons, terminants are there in the form of the various branches are there, which is the main branch, these are the sub-branch, main branch, sub-branches are there. There is the dendrites also, which is the main dendron, and there is the dendrites, branches. So main is the dendron, is the dendrites, which is the central location, the nucleus. It is involved, okay, with the Schwann cells which form a mycelium sheath around the exon. Okay, so exon, around the exon there is a formation of the mycelium sheath. So that's why it will look like the terminals. Okay, it is found in the spinal and cranial nerves. Spinal means it's a spinal cord. Okay, in the spine, it will be found in the spines, and cranial nerves in the brains, cranial cavity. Okay. There is a white colored area formed of the mycelinated nerves fiber, which is called the white matter. So we can see the white matter in our brains also. So white matter, it is formed with the nerve fibers, groups of the fibers, nerve fibers. Okay, so that will be the formation of the white matter. There will be the gaps. Okay, there will be the gap between the adjacent mycelium sheath. Okay, there will be the gap between the adjacent mycelium sheath. So we can see here clearly in the diagram, this is the gap between the mycelium sheath. Here also we can see the gap between the mycelium sheath. Okay, so that is called as the nodes of the Ranviers. Nodes of the Ranvier. These are the nodes, we can say the nodes, and internodes, nodes, internodes. Okay, so it will be collected in the Schwann cells. Then non-mycelinated exon. So there is the absence of the mycelium structures. Okay, Schwann cells present but no mycelium sheath. Okay, so there is no mycelium sheaths. Then they are the gray in colors, area without mycelium. Okay, so there is no mycelia without the mycelium transportation of the same stimuli, no doubt. And it is found in the autonomous and somatic neural systems. It is found in the autonomous and somatic neural systems. So this is the locations of the brain. It will be having the somatic tissues, somatic cells. Somatic cells means a very soft, okay, very soft cells. That's called as the somatic cells. So brain is of course it is a soft organ, muscular organ, but it's very soft. Okay, so there is the gray matters. This is the gray matter. It is found in the non-mycelinated exon. So there is no mycelia, only is a muscular organs. Okay, so this is the white matter and this is the gray matters. Okay, means mycelinated, non-mycelinated exons. Okay. Then next is the generation and conduction of the nerve impulse. How to generate, okay, how to generate the impulse and how to conduct the impulse. So from the various organs and towards the various organs. Okay, so there is a mechanism should be done. The mechanism should be done, that is the nerve mechanism, nerve impulse mechanism done from organ, and from organ towards the brain, and from the brain towards the organ. So the one sequence will be completed, that we call as the generation and conduction of the nerve impulse. Okay, so there is a perfect work done from the brain and towards the brain, and towards the brain towards the organs. Okay, so that will be the continuously function. Impulsion, the nerve impulse will be transported. Okay, so that will be called as the complete nerve control and coordinations. So in this, what happened actually? There are the 3 steps of the nerve impulse should be transmitted. Okay, within the 3 steps. So number 1 step is the maintenance of resting membrane potential. Okay, maintenance of the resting membrane potential. So whatever the organs are there, they maybe get the electrochemical reactions. Okay, so impulse transmission should be done with the help of the electrochemical transfer. That is the process. So after the electrochemical process, it will be get actions on the potential. So whatever maybe the potential is there, whatever may be the done electrochemical reaction done, so that reaction take the action potential. We can call it the action potential in the second step. And in the last step, there is the propagation of the action potential. Propagation means it will be transmitted. Okay, it will be get propagated. It will be get recognized. Okay, and then it will be get transmitted. So in this way, there is a formation of the nerve impulse. Okay. Next is the number 1, maintenance of resting membrane potential. Okay, how to maintain the resting membrane potentials? The neural membrane contains various selectively permeable ion channels. Okay, so it will be present the selectively permeable ion channels. Okay. So in that, what happen in a resting neurons? So resting neurons means remaining there. Okay, remaining neurons. The neuron not conducting the impulses. Okay, so they can also take part in a various other that is the functions. Okay, so neuron not conducting the impulses. The axonal membrane is more permeable to potassium ions and nearly impermeable to sodium ions. Okay, so we can see here there is a continuous chain of the potassium ions here. Okay, so they can be pumped out here. Sodium ions here will pump out. Here is the potassium ions. So completely it is a chain. And it will be get impermeable to negatively charged proteins in the exoplasm. Okay, they get the negatively charged. So then negatively charged, here is a positively charged. So there is the formation of the charges, and on the basis of that they can be conducted the nerve impulse functions. Okay. Then the communication with neurons. How to communicate with the neurons? The nerve works together with the muscles. Okay, so muscles also involved. Why? Because without muscle there is no transport of the stimuli. So muscles also get involved for the movement also. When there is a movement, it will be get transport the stimuli. An impulse begins when one neuron is stimulated. Okay, if there is a one neuron is stimulated by another neurons or by the sense organs. Okay, sensory organs. So sensory organs means those organs they can be grasping, they can be acquired the sense. Sense means chetna. Okay, Jani. The impulse travels down the exons of the sensory neurons. Okay, so impulse will be traveled down towards where there is a sensory neuron, towards the brain cells, and that is called as the interneurons. Okay, so particular impulse it will be perform a work to transport the stimuli towards the brain. Okay, so that cell is called as the interneuron cells. The cells between the organs and the brains. Okay, interneuron cell. The brain will then send an impulse. So in response to that, so whatever may be the stimuli is transported toward the brain. So in response to that, again the brain will then send. Okay, the brain will send an impulse through motor neurons. So brain use the motor neurons, and that motor neurons very fast, very quickly sending that impulse towards the organ, necessary muscles or organs. Okay, towards the necessary muscles or organs. So if there is a stimuli from the muscle, or if there is a stimuli from the organ transported towards the brain, so it will be get immediate action, and that impulse again transported towards the motor neuron. So first it will be recognized what type of the injury is there, what type of the impulse is there, and then again it will be sent towards the particular muscles or organs. So telling it to contract. Okay, telling it to contract. So there is a particular mechanism of the formation of the stimuli. Okay, so when we can say if there is a mechanical injury, okay, if there is a burning, so what we have to done, after a suddenly burning is there, then we can suddenly movement of the organs. Okay, so that will be the particular function done by the brains. Okay, so this is about the communication with the neuron. The body, our body cells communicate with the neuron, and according to that the brains also controlling on the same functioning of the body organs. Okay. So here that mechanism is also called as the reflex actions. Okay, that mechanism is called as the reflex action. So what is the reflex action? It is a involuntary response. Okay, reflex action is nothing but it's a involuntary response that is processed in the spinal cord and not in the brains. So this is the directly related with the spinal cords. So immediate action should be done. So after there is a suddenly action, for example, there is a burning of our fingers. So what we have to do? Suddenly we take the action. We can remove that that is the fingers from the burning areas. Okay, so that is the sudden reactions will be done. So that reactions done with the help of the spinal cords. Our spinal cord get contracted. All the muscles get contracted. That's why our hands also get contracted. Okay, remove from the some situations. Okay, the reflexes protect the body before the brain knows what is going on. So in that situation the brain totally unknown about these things. Okay, so brain totally unknown what happened, what's going on in our body. Okay, so after suddenly we remove that the hands from the suddenly situations, so it cannot be recognized, and after that sometime it will be recognized. That type of the mechanism should be done. So that stimuli goes again towards the brain. So for example, there is no control and coordinations, we means that the spinal cord cannot be works properly. Okay, so because of the controlling and coordinations, this should be done with the help of the brains and should be done with the help of the spinal cords. Okay, so body gives response. So when the body gives response, our organs are perfectly working. Okay, our organs are perfectly working. So that's why it will be give the response to the spinal cords. Okay, so that is the situations. Then central nervous system. So there are actually these are the types of the nervous systems. Okay, so broadly we discuss here in very broadly. The central nervous system, it is also called as the CNS. Okay, CNS, it means central nervous system, and another system is called as the PNS, means peripheral nervous system. So both the systems are directly connected with the brain, no doubt, but it consists of the brains and also in the spinal cord. Okay, so what is the difference between the CNS and the PNS? The CNS performed by the brains particularly, and PNS, it is also performed by the brain, but it is connected firstly with the spinal cord and then finally to the brains. Okay, so there is only difference is that in the cerebellums, okay, in the cerebellums there is the organs, lower part of the brains, it will be get directly connected to the spinal cord. Okay, so there is a one region. So this region is called as the here. You can see the here regions is called as the medulla oblongata. Okay, and medulla oblongata lower part situated the spinal cord. So this spinal cord comes downward direction and all over towards the backbones. Okay, so that backbones again covering with the various spinal cords. Okay, so that is the spinal cords, number of the cells are there, nerve cells are there, and they then spread towards our body organs. Okay, so it means that the central nervous system covers starting from the brains towards the our from the chest also, and from the centrally located organs. Remember this. The central nervous system located, or it will be perform the function of starting from the brain and up to the only the central organs. Centrally organs located in our body, it will be perform the function. So what about the PNS, peripheral nervous system? With the help of this the spinal cord. So spinal cord spreads from the central part, that is the backbone. Okay, so from the backbone there is a spreading of the various spinal cords and nerve cells also. So that covers the surrounding organs. For example, hands and legs connected with the spinal cords only. So that's why they can be properly functioning. Spinal cord connecting the surrounding organs, that is the peripheral organs, mean outside the body. Peripheral means outside the body. That is the legs and the hands are the outside body organs. Okay, so that will be the movements, then functioning also done with the help of the connecting the spinal cord. Okay, so this is about brief information about the CNS, central nervous systems. Only 1 minute is there, so we can stop here, and after that we will continue the second parts. Okay, so this will be also brief information. Central nervous system, cerebrum also involved, cerebellum also involved, medulla oblongata also involved, then also called as the brain stem. Okay, medulla is nothing but it's a brain stem, means stem means it's a lowermost parts, just like. Okay, so it controls the involuntary actions like the blood pressure, heart rate, breathing and swelling also. And spinal cord, the main communication link between the brain and the rest of the body. So this is the very important. Spinal cord is the very important. Why? Because it is connected to the various organs. If there is a damaging of the spinal cord, the main, that is the any organs, it cannot be work properly. Okay, so this is the very important. Spinal cord is the voluntary or conscious activities of the body, learning, judgment, like etc. because of the cerebrums. So this is the very important. Memory also conducted by the cerebrums, and voluntary conscious activities, the body, learning and judgments. Okay, so what type of the judgment we have to take in the various situations. Okay, so this will be the brief information about the CNS and the PNS, and in the second part we will details adopt the information about the two types of the system, that is called as the CNS and the PNS, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Okay, if you have any doubt, this is the peripheral system. Brief information: motor neurons are there, it will be get sensory and directly transport towards the brain, central nervous